The crystal chandelier in my mother's foyer cost more than my first car. I stood beneath it wearing a simple navy blazer and slacks, feeling like an intruder in the house I grew up in. The air smelled of expensive lilies and the kind of floor wax only rich people use. My mother breezed past me with a tray of champagne flutes, barely pausing to acknowledge my existence. "Morgan, try not to stand in the doorway," she said, her voice tight with that specific stress she saved for social events. "You look like security. Go find a corner in the kitchen if you aren't going to mingle properly." I didn't move. I had driven 4 hours from Fort Liberty just to be here for this engagement party. My younger sister, Chloe, was getting married to a man I had never met. According to her relentless social media posts, he was an army captain. A hero, the answer to all her prayers. "Good to see you too, Mom," I said quietly. She stopped and turned, her eyes scanning my outfit with disapproval. "I told you this was formal, Morgan. Everyone here is important. The mayor is coming. Jack's parents are flying in from Connecticut. And you show up looking like you just clocked out of the garage." "I am comfortable," I said. And I did clock out. That is how jobs work. My mother sighed, the sound sharp and dismissive. "Just try not to talk about your work tonight. Nobody wants to hear about grease and wrenches while they are eating caviar. Tell them you work in logistics if they ask. It sounds cleaner." She walked away before I could reply. I wasn't surprised. For the last 20 years, my family had filtered my life through a lens of disappointment. To them, I was the black sheep who skipped college to enlist. I was the blue-collar failure who liked getting her hands dirty. They didn't understand the military. They only understood what they saw in movies. To them, if you weren't an officer with shiny brass on your collar, you were nobody. They had no idea what a Chief Warrant Officer 5 actually was. I walked into the main hall. The room was filled with people holding drinks and laughing too loudly. I spotted Chloe near the fireplace. She was wearing a white dress that looked suspiciously like a wedding gown, holding court with 3 of her bridesmaids. She looked beautiful, I had to admit, but her eyes had that predatory gleam I knew too well. It was the look she got when she wanted something expensive and knew exactly how to get it. I drifted closer, grabbing a club soda from a passing waiter. "He is deploying in 3 months, Chloe was saying, her voice carrying over the music. "It is actually perfect timing. We get the wedding done. I get the ID card. And then he goes away for 9 months. Won't you be lonely?" one of the friends asked. Chloe laughed, tossing her hair back. "I will be busy decorating the new house. Do you know what the basic allowance for housing is for an O3 with dependents? It is tax-free money, girls. Plus, once we are married, I get onto his TRICARE immediately." I took a sip of my soda, feeling the cold bubbles hit the back of my throat. She wasn't talking about a marriage. She was talking about a business transaction. "And here is the kicker," Chloe said, leaning in closer to her friends. "He upped his SGLI policy last week. That is the life insurance. If anything happens to him over there, it is a $500,000 payout, tax-free." "Oh my God, Chloe," one friend giggled, looking scandalized but delighted. "That is terrible." "It is practical," Chloe said, sipping her wine. "I am just saying, the military takes care of its widows. If the worst happens, I am set for life. I would get the DIC payments too. That is monthly income forever." My grip tightened on my glass. Dependency and indemnity compensation was meant for grieving families, not gold diggers planning their husband's funeral before the wedding. I felt a familiar heat rising in my chest. It was the same anger I felt when I saw soldiers cutting corners on maintenance. I stepped into her circle. "Hello, Chloe." She jumped, nearly spilling her wine. Her eyes widened when she saw me, and then immediately narrowed. "Morgan, you made it. I thought you might be stuck under a truck somewhere." The bridesmaids giggled. I kept my face neutral. "Congratulations on the engagement. He sounds like a generous man." "He is a captain," Chloe said, emphasizing the rank like it was a royal title. He commands soldiers. Real soldiers. Not mechanics. Is that so? I asked. And does he know you have memorized the payout schedule for his death benefits already? Chloe's smile vanished. She stepped closer, lowering her voice to a hiss. Do not ruin this for me, Morgan. Jack is high class. He comes from a good family. He doesn't need to know his sister-in-law changes oil for a living. Just stay in the background and do not embarrass me. Before I could answer, a hush fell over the room. My mother was clapping her hands near the entrance. Everyone, please, she called out. He is here. The man of the hour. Captain Jack Sterling. Jack walked in. He was tall, with the kind of jawline you see on recruitment posters. He was wearing his Army service uniform, the dark blue standing out against the pastel decor of the room. He walked with a swagger that screamed arrogance. He wasn't wearing a combat patch on his right shoulder. That meant he had never deployed to a combat zone. His ribbon rack was thin. National Defense Service Medal, Army Service Ribbon, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, participation trophies. He was green. He was a shiny new captain who probably thought he knew everything because he had a degree and a commission. I watched him shake hands, soaking up the adoration of the room. He made his way to Chloe, kissing her on the cheek while the guests applauded. Then my mother steered him toward me. I could see the apology in her eyes before she even spoke. Jack, she said, her voice strained. This is Chloe's older sister, Morgan. Jack looked me up and down. He took in the plain blazer, the lack of jewelry, the calluses on my hands that I hadn't bothered to hide. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Nice to meet you, he said. Chloe told me you work for the Army too. Motor pool, right? Something like that, I said. That's good. Honest work, Jack said, his tone dripping with condescension. We need people to keep the trucks running so the leaders can get to the fight. Keep it up. Maybe you'll make sergeant one day. I almost laughed. I had been a sergeant nearly 15 years ago. I had passed that rank, then switched over to the warrant officer cohort. I had climbed the ladder that most officers didn't even know existed. I will do my best, Captain, I said flatly. He turned away, dismissing me completely. He lifted his glass to toast the room. Thank you all for coming. It is an honor to serve my country, and an honor to join this beautiful family. I promise to protect Chloe with the same dedication I give to my men. And your life insurance policy? I muttered. Jack spun back around. Excuse me? Nothing, I said. Just admiring your speech. Jack stepped closer to me. The room was loud, so nobody else could hear us. Look, I know your type. You're the bitter enlisted soldier who hates officers because we make the decisions. I get it, but tonight you are in my world. So, show some respect. He held out his empty champagne glass to me. Since you are heading to the kitchen, be a pal and grab me a refill. Top shelf bourbon. Neat. He thought I was the help. He actually thought I was the help. I looked at the glass. I looked at his smug face. I thought about the 3,000 hours I had logged in combat zones. I thought about the classified briefings I gave to the Joint Chiefs. I thought about the fact that I was a Chief Warrant Officer 5, a rank so rare they called us unicorns. Technically, a CW5 ranks below a second lieutenant. But in the real world, in the actual functioning army, a CW5 answers only to God and the general. We are the technical experts, the wizards. When a CW5 tells a colonel to sit down and shut up, the colonel sits down. I am not getting your drink, Jack, I said. His face flushed red. Excuse me? I am an officer. When I give an instruction, I expect it to be followed. You are at a party, I said, not a parade deck. And you have no idea who you are talking to. I am talking to a mechanic with an attitude problem, Jack snapped. Chloe was right. You are an embarrassment. Suddenly, the front door opened again. The sound of heavy boots echoed on the marble floor. The chatter in the room died down instantly. Standing in the doorway was Lieutenant General Halloway. 3 stars on his shoulder boards. He was wearing his dress blues, his chest heavy with medals. He was the Corps commander, a man who commanded tens of thousands of soldiers. My mother gasped. She rushed forward. "General, we didn't expect you." Jack didn't say his commander was coming. General Holloway ignored her. He scanned the room, his eyes sharp as lasers. He looked past my mother. He looked past Chloe. He looked past Jack, who was now standing at rigid attention, looking terrified. The general walked straight toward me. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. I stood my ground. I didn't salute. I was in civilian clothes. The protocol dictated that I simply stand at attention. But the general stopped 3 feet in front of me. He snapped his hand up. A perfect, crisp salute. The room went dead silent. You could hear the ice melting in the buckets. A 3-star general does not salute a civilian. And he certainly doesn't salute a mechanic first. "Chief Vance," the general said, holding the salute. I returned it slowly, cutting the air with my hand. "General Holloway." He dropped his hand and smiled, a genuine expression of relief. "I am glad I found you, Morgan. My aide said you took leave for a family event, but we have a crisis with the satellite uplink in the Pacific sector. I need your eyes on the schematics." "It can wait until Monday, sir," I said, calm as a frozen lake. "I am sure your S6 shop can handle the basics." "They tried." Holloway laughed. "They made it worse. That is why I need the best. I need the wizard." Jack made a choking sound. He was staring at me as I had just grown wings. "Chief?" he whispered. "Chief Vance?" The general turned to look at Jack for the first time. "Who is this?" "This is Captain Sterling, sir," I said. "My sister's fiancé." Holloway looked at Jack's empty uniform. He looked at the glass Jack was still holding out. "Captain, why are you asking a chief warrant officer 5 to fetch you a drink?" Jack dropped the glass. It shattered on the floor, the sound exploding in the silence. "CW5? Jack stammered. She said she was a mechanic. She is the senior technical advisor for Cyber Command," Holloway barked. "She has a higher security clearance than I do, son. She has been serving since you were in diapers. If she tells you the sky is green, you start painting it green. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir," Jack squeaked. He was sweating now, profusely. My mother looked like she was going to faint. Chloe looked furious. Her narrative was crumbling. "I apologize, Chief," Jack said to me, his voice shaking. "I didn't know. I assumed." "You assumed rank equals competence," I said. "Common mistake for junior officers. But that is not what worries me, Captain." I pulled my phone out of my pocket. I tapped the screen and hit play. Chloe's voice rang out through the silent room, crystal clear. "If he deploys and doesn't come back, that's $500,000 payout. Tax-free. I am just saying, the military takes care of its widows." Chloe screamed. "Turn it off! That is private." I didn't turn it off. I let it play until the part about the TRICARE. Then I paused it. I looked at Jack. He looked sick. All the color had drained from his face as he looked at his beautiful fiancée. "Captain Sterling," I said, my voice dropping into the tone I used for disciplinary hearings. "You hold a secret security clearance. Is that correct?" "Yes, Chief," he whispered. "Financial predation is a primary indicator for insider threats," I said. "Associating with individuals who exhibit this level of financial desperation and manipulation puts you at risk. It makes you a target for blackmail. It makes you a liability." I took a step closer to him. "If you marry this woman, I will have to flag your file. I will report a change in status to the adjudication facility. You will lose your clearance. And without a clearance, you cannot be an officer in the United States Army." "You can't do that!" Chloe shrieked. She grabbed Jack's arm. "Jack, tell her she is crazy!" Jack pulled his arm away. He looked at Chloe with disgust. The illusion was broken. He didn't see a loving wife anymore. He saw a leech. "Is that true?" Jack asked Chloe. You were talking about my death benefits? Before we are even married? I was just joking, Chloe sobbed. Jack, baby, please. Jack straightened up. He looked at me. He didn't see a mechanic anymore. He saw a senior officer who had just saved his life. Thank you, Chief, Jack said. He took the engagement ring off Chloe's finger. It wasn't a request. He just took it. Jack! Chloe screamed. We are done, Jack said. I am not going to be your paycheck. He turned to the general and saluted. Permission to be excused, sir. Granted, Holloway said. Jack walked out. He didn't look back. The party erupted into chaos. Chloe was on the floor, crying about her wedding. My mother was shouting at me, calling me a saboteur. Guests were whispering, phones were out, recording the meltdown. I didn't care. I looked at General Holloway. Ready to go, Morgan? He asked. I have a driver outside. Yes, sir, I said. Get me out of here. We walked to the door. My mother blocked my path, her face twisted with rage. How could you? You destroyed your sister's life. You are jealous, hateful trash. I stopped. I looked at this woman who had spent my whole life making me feel small. I felt absolutely nothing. I didn't destroy her life, Mother, I said calmly. I saved a soldier from a mistake. That is my job. I walked past her and out into the cool night air. The general's black SUV was waiting. A corporal opened the door for me. Good evening, Chief, the corporal said. Good evening, I replied. I climbed in. The leather seat was soft. The air conditioning was cold. As we drove away from the mansion, leaving the screaming and the drama behind, I looked down at my hands, the same hands that turned wrenches, typed code, and signed reports that shifted battalions. They were good hands. I wasn't a princess. I wasn't a bride. I was a chief warrant officer in the United States Army. I had a brotherhood that money couldn't buy, and a purpose that vanity couldn't understand. So, the general said, opening a folder on his lap, about that satellite uplink. I smiled. Let me see the schematics, sir. I'll have it fixed by morning. I didn't look back at the house. I had work to do, and for the first time in a long time, I knew exactly where I belonged.